Hello, my name is Reha Zaken. Welcome to the 9th Minute. I'm an amateur astronomer and creator of the star dial sky map. I became interested in astronomy a few years ago when I bought a telescope. Astronomy is one of my favorite hobbies, and I hope you find the star dial as fascinating as I do. The star dial is available for sale on eBay, keyword star dial. In the course of 1 year, the sun visits a number of constellations. This path is called the ecliptic and is divided into the 12 well-known constellations of the zodiac. But the sun really visits 13 constellations. Learn all about it with the star dial. As viewed from the Earth, the sun passes in front of 13, not 12 constellations during the course of 1 year. The ecliptic runs exactly along the middle of the zodiac constellations, and the 13th constellation, named Ophiuchus by ancient astronomers. When the sun sign system was set up more than 2,000 years ago, the sun's path was divided into 12 equally spaced signs, regardless of a constellation's size. Cancer, for example, is a small constellation, and Pisces is very large, but both were accorded an equal 1/12 of the sun's annual path. This simplification is the result of early astronomers' dislike of the number 13. Superstitions about the number 13 have been with us for thousands of years and still persist today. Claiming that there are only 12 constellations is similar to maintaining the Earth is flat. The sun is in front of the stars of Ophiuchus during the first half of December. About 1 person in 20 is an Ophiuchus, but few of them know it. Although overlooked by the zodiac, Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, is the god of medicine and always shown with a staff with the serpent around it. One tidbit of astronomical information most people seem to know is their sun sign, but few people know what it actually means. Does your horoscope seem a little bit off? Does it seem to be written for someone else? Chances are it is. If you ask 100 people what their sun sign is, most of them will be able to tell you, but the fact is they may not be correct. The star dial sky map shows the 13 constellations that form the ecliptic. In the course of 1 year, the sun visits a number of constellations. Ignored by the horoscope, the constellation of Ophiuchus between Scorpio and Sagittarius is key to understanding the end of times. When you look up into the sky at Ophiuchus, you can see his heel crushing the serpent, constellation Scorpio. He holds and tries to keep the fiery flying serpent whose head, constellation serpent Caput, is reaching for the crown, constellation Corona Borealis. The star dial is positive proof the horoscopes label people incorrectly and are a false teaching. When we come back, we're going to examine the meaning of the signs and wonders in the heavens. What in the world is going on?
One astronomy tidbit most people seem to know is their sun sign. As viewed from the Earth, the sun passes in front of 13 constellations, not 12, during the course of 1 year. This path of the sun is called the ecliptic. The ecliptic runs exactly along the middle of the zodiac constellations and the 13th constellation named Ophiuchus, or the serpent bearer. When the sun sign system was set up more than 2,000 years ago, the sun's path was divided into 12 equally spaced signs. This simplification is the result of early astronomers' dislike of the number 13. Superstitions about the number 13 have been with us for thousands of years and still persist today. Claiming that there are only 12 constellations is similar to maintaining the Earth is flat. The Sun is in front of the stars of Ophiuchus during the first half of December. About 1 person in 20 is an Ophiuchus, but few of them know it. Although overlooked by the zodiac, Ophiuchus, or the serpent bearer, is the god of medicine and always shown with a staff with a serpent around it. Star dials showing the 13 constellation boundaries are available in our store and also on eBay.
Hello, this is Reha Zaken, back from our break. So what is the meaning of the signs and wonders in the heavens? As you look around, it is obvious the world is coming apart at the seams. There is strife and chaos, war and starvation, lies and deception everywhere, and a faltering economy that is at the edge of collapse, which brings us to the question, what is really happening? Within the next decade, numerous significant astronomical events will take place. Will the world end? The Mayans considered December 21st, 2012, to be the completion of 2 major influential cycles of approximately 26,000 years in both the precession cycle of the Earth and the direct alignment of our Sun with the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The odds of these 2 events occurring at exactly the same time are phenomenal. A small minority of people believe the year 2012 will bring cataclysmic events unequaled in human history. They picture the world being destroyed by fire, pole shifts, tsunamis, losing our Sun to the black hole at the center of our galaxy, and even possibly an alien invasion. But that's not going to happen. According to math and the science of astronomy, more likely, nothing will happen. Karl Marx observed that when a theory grips the masses, it becomes a material force. The doctrine of Armageddon has gripped the imagination of several extremely motivated and influential groups, including the United States, Israel, and the Muslim world, and the doctrine is quickly becoming an unstoppable force across the world. Armageddon is the great consuming war to be fought among the people of the earth. Apocalypse is the natural catastrophe such as a volcano or earthbound comet that is supposed to occur right after Armageddon. Trying to oppose a natural catastrophe is pointless, but Armageddon is different. Of all the potential catastrophes, Armageddon is the only one we might have the power to prevent. In the final clash between good and evil, some experts predict 2 to 3 billion people are supposed to perish. Evangelical Christians are a group eager to precipitate Armageddon, looking forward to the rapture, the exalted moment before the battle begins, when true and faithful Christians are lifted up into the air to join God and have the opportunity to observe the battle from heaven. What a concept. We have a caller. Hello, this is Reha. Welcome to the 9th Minute.
How are you tonight? It's Savant.
Hi, Savant. I'm fine, thank you. And how are you?
Doing quite well. I've been listening to you here and thought maybe I'd be able to get in on the conversation.
Okay. What do you think about these concepts of potential cataclysmic events occurring on December 21st, 2012?
Well, I think probably the big cataclysmic event that will be leading up that will be the November elections in 2012, but that's beside the point. So I think that the actual date that's picked by the Mayan calendar is something of an eventful historical legend. Whether there's anything specifically, I don't believe that the world as we know it will end then. There's too many events that have to happen between now and then. There's so many different historical backups, and different capabilities of information from different directions. Of course, the Mayans are one of them. Truly, they are extremely accurate astrologers. They spoke of the fact that they felt that there were going to be beings, gods, they called them, come from another realm, another dimension, from the heavens, from the sky, however people wanted to determine it. And so their astronomy was gauged on the fact of that reappearance, which they claimed to be December 21st, 2012.
That's interesting.
And so the Mayans are one of many that believe that there will be things happening in what we consider to be the end times. Through over 20 years of research that I put in analysis, I have found, believe it or not, out of all of them, the most accurate as far as fulfillment of prophecies given is the Holy Scriptures. Now, a lot of people discount them as just a book of tales and legends and that they're not believable. But the point is there is no other book that contains prophecies that have been pinpointed day, time, and particular fulfillments that have occurred, thousands. No other collection has the fulfillment of prophecies more so than the Holy Scriptures. Now, what I believe is going to happen on 2012 is that it will pretty much be like the Y2K situation was.
Oh, sure. Yes, Y2K12.
Yeah.
Some people have called it Y2K12.
I think a lot of people have overblown the situation and hyped it up pretty heavily, and so I think there is a mindset that's being prepared to accept things that are going to start occurring. Now, I believe that 2012 is a pivotal year, and that we'll see a whole lot of things begin to happen, not only politically, spiritually, geophysically, shifting of tectonic plates. We've seen in the last couple of years how many major earthquakes and tsunamis and things and volcanoes going off. There's a lot of things happening. And so I believe that there's a lot of tectonic shifting going on now. There's some people that attribute this to the ancient Babylonian and Sumerian texts that talk about a planet called Nibiru, which in Babylonian means the planet of crossing, because it comes into our solar system in an elliptical cycle of 3,600 years. In the Babylonian astronomy, they based everything on a mathematical system called sexagesimal math, which is based on 60, which comes off of this 3,600-year cycle, because obviously 360 is 60 times 60. And so, if you take 600 times 60, it's all a mathematical variable. That's why that our timekeeping to this day is still worked off of sexagesimal math. We have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle. The Babylonian calendar was 360 days, 1 degree for every day. Now, as far as this planet Nibiru coming into our solar system, gosh, it would seem like if that's really happening and has happened every 3,600 years, obviously in our modern times, if that's supposed to be occurring sometime soon, wouldn't astronomers be seeing it? Well, that's debatable.
Is it possible that they are seeing it, but it's not communicated to everyone?
Well, I think that's probably the conspiratorial theory behind a lot of things. If you read the Babylonian text, the reason that there were beings that came from the planet Nibiru to Earth was to mine gold, to eject atomized gold into their atmosphere to keep their atmosphere from collapsing. And so the tales that are in the Babylonian theory of all this say that every 3,600 years, when the planet comes close to Earth, in astronomical or flight terms, perigee and apogee, when it gets closest to Earth in its elliptical cycle, it starts to cause all kinds of geophysical changes in the Earth, floods, earthquakes, etc. And so that's what plays into some of this theory. Now, if people want to learn more about Nibiru, And the Babylonians.
If we have a planet like that approach the Earth, then yes, probably there would be a lot of changes in our physical and geophysical environment as a result of the additional gravitational force and pull.
Yeah, that's true. If people want to learn more about that, of course, you can go online and do a search on it, but there is a famous author who is a non-practicing Jew by the name of Zechariah Sitchin, who wrote a series of books called the Earth Chronicles, and he goes into it pretty thoroughly in one of his, actually the first book of the series, which is called The 12th Planet. And so he is one of the proponents that has driven this pretty heavily, and he's a very interesting writer, but it all has to be taken with a grain of salt. Now, my own personal belief is, and through study, is that the force field around the Earth, which is an electromagnetic force field, is weakening, so that it is causing the Earth, not only in its orbit, but in its spheroid shape, to alter. And so as this field weakens, it's causing the tectonic plates to become more volatile. Now, as far as the whole situation with the beings that came to Earth, according to the Babylonians, from the planet Nibiru, there was a group that what was known to be space stations, and they were called the Anunnaki. There was also a group called the Igigi, but the point is that there were beings that came, quote unquote, from the heavens to the earth. That's where this whole concept of the gods came from. And so if you look carefully in the scriptures, it speaks of these type of beings, and it refers to them as fallen angels. Now, where we've been led to believe that there are extraterrestrials that have come to earth throughout the years, you know, and that eventually will determine that all religions were based on these gods, quote unquote, that came from the heavens. The scriptures speak pretty clearly about it in Genesis chapter 6, when it says that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all they chose. That means against their will. And it speaks about these beings, Ben Elohim, it's called in Hebrew, and then it goes down and it says there were giants in those days in chapter 6. And the word giants is in chapter 6, verse 4. It's a Hebrew word, Nephilim, which means the progeny of fallen angels. And it says that they filled the world with violence, and that the earth was just in utter chaos, rape, murder, pillage, the whole 9 yards. And that influence, I believe, is starting to take hold in our situation on earth today. Now,
it does seem like the situation is getting worse on this planet, especially in the past year and a half or so.
It's increasing in acceleration, and that's what I wrote about. And in my trilogy series called Full Circle, the concept of history repeating itself, we're in that cycle. We're at the end of a 6,000-year cycle right now, amongst other cycles that are all coming to culmination around 2012. And so there's a lot of things happening, but I believe that there are spiritual influences behind the scene now that are prepping for the Battle of Armageddon. When we consider the Battle of Armageddon, most people think it to be flesh and blood, but it's actually a spiritual battle that occurs between the angels of God and the fallen angels of Satan. That's what the Battle of Armageddon is all about. And so,
but if that were the case, then why the reference to bloodshed and so many people dying at this event?
Because the spiritual influence on the earth uses people to manipulate circumstances. And so in the book of Daniel, where Daniel was praying when he was in the lion's den, and finally after 21 days, Gabriel came to him and said that we've heard your prayer. It's just that the Prince Michael has been fighting against the Prince of Persia, and we've been busy and couldn't get over here. Every specific nation has a God's angel protecting them and a fallen devil or demon that is trying to take it over. That's the battle that's been going on, the cosmic conflict throughout time. That's what's occurring now. It says in the scriptures that we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and it speaks of the prince of the power of the air. And so all these things are coming to pass, and there are certain nations.
If what you say were true, then we wouldn't be able to prevent Armageddon from happening. And I think that it's a man-made event, and that theoretically we should be able to prevent it.
Well, that type of rationale is kind of an interesting comment that people might want to think about. But the fact that the sovereignty over all of creation comes under the auspice of God, as El Elyon, the Most High God. And so there is a predetermined destiny that is going to occur whether man has any influence on it or not. And the scriptures are written that it is going to occur. So no matter what man does, it will not be able to circumvent it. We can try. Look, let me put it this way. Man has been warring and killing each other for thousands of years. This concept of mankind being able to turn Earth into some type of utopian paradise, it hasn't worked. That's why we were given 6,000 years through the Adamic lineage to rectify it and never have been able to do it. The key is that through this spiritual battle that occurs, spirits use human beings as their tools.
Okay.
And so there are certain beings, just to be specific, that are demonically possessed. And demons and fallen angels have influences on governments, on politicians, on all types of people, economics, military, the whole nine yards. And so these influences are at maximum conflict point at this time. When the period of tribulation that comes for 7 years, and in the book of Revelation it describes it very specifically. It mentions in chapter 9 that there will be an angel that will come with a key to the bottomless pit, where all the fallen angels of certain groups are kept, and that they will be released out onto the face of the earth, and that they will go out.
And the angel with the key is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. It's sometimes that function of guarding is oftentimes attributed to Ophiuchus.
Well, I could see that there would be some people that would attribute that. It specifically mentions that one particular fallen angel will be the ruler over these demons that come out of the bottomless pit. It's mentioned that in Hebrew it's Abaddon, and in Greek it's Apollyon, which means the destroyer. But it gives description of these fallen angels that will go out to kill people on the face of the earth. And it says that the river Euphrates will be dried up, and that 4 demons will come out from where the river recedes. They were kept captive under the water ever since the time that the river was drained, when Persia went in and drained it to go in and take Babylon during the time of Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, Belshazzar. But so, there's going to be things that are occurring. There's been a lot of things happening in Iraq, which is Babylon, a lot of things happening now in Persia, which is Iran. Those were the original battling nations over the Middle East. Here we are full circle back thousands of years later. And, once again, the final conflict of Armageddon, as far as international troops, will be the Muslims coming against the Jews and Christians over the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. That's what World War III will be over. They will be gathering around, and the reason that they gather in the plain of Megiddo, or what we call Armageddon, is to collect all the troops to go in and take Jerusalem. And so when Christ returns with the saints that are raptured 7 years before Armageddon, and with the angels that come back as the army from heaven, it says that Christ, in Zechariah chapter 12 and 14, describes that Christ comes, steps back to the Mount of Olives, walks through the eastern gate into Jerusalem, and then they gather the armies and go out to Armageddon, and that he just speaks forth with energy, and there's never a battle at that point in time. It's just through his speech destroys all the opposing armies. Now, the bloodshed that is spoken about in a World War III scenario is what is commonly referred to as the War of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. And the reason I keep referring to these scriptures is because they pinpoint exactly what and when it's going to happen. And so we know that there's a 7-year period that's going to come up before all this occurs. Mm-hmm. So in that light of it, there is no way between now and 2012 that a 7-year period of tribulation, as spoken of in the book of Revelation and delineated in the book of Daniel, cannot happen between now and 2012.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a lot of very good, interesting information, and I thank you so much for calling in. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope that you can call back and continue this conversation with us. We only have a few more minutes until the end of our show, and we need to go to a quick break. Hello, this is Reha Zaken, and I wanted to thank everyone for joining us this evening for the 9th Minute. Please return next Thursday, same time, same place, Blog Talk Radio, for another episode of the 9th Minute. With only 301 days remaining until December 21st, 2012. This is Reha Zaken wishing everybody a good evening.